different principles of your science, technology, and engineering and mathematics of how they do problem solving, and adding a little artistic approach into it. So, as you are aware of the your STEM subjects, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And when you add arts into it, it is known as STEAM, which, as we all know, is a very powerful tool and actually started the entire industrial revolution. And that is where design thinking actually has come from the bowels of the industrial revolution itself, where you're combining scientific research with industrial modeling and artistic prototyping. So why is design thinking? So this is an approach of trying to figure out a multiple aspects, multiple viewpoints, to try and collaborate together to using user experience, technical aspects, complying with contemporary understanding of what people would want, and also adding in the aesthetic visual language into your products. The user-oriented approach and a continuous dialogue between the designers, manufacturers, salespeople, and potential users is one of the are the key aspects for getting your data together and thinking together for futuring into a new product. So there are 6 parts to design thinking. First, we have come to our empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test, and implement. Now let's start with empathize. Now it's a form of trying to find a connection with the user you're trying to design for. Rather than searching for what a problem is, you're trying to look for what a user might want. This can be done through observing the user's behaviors in their lives and interacting with them, engaging through interviews and scheduling, certain short encounters. Another way is also to immerse yourself as a user as well, so that you get to find an understanding and put yourself in the shoes of a user of what they would want. And through this, you would be, rather than trying to find a solution, you're trying to define what the problem is. So good design is always built on a solid understanding of observing, engaging, and immersing yourself into the user's needs. So when you are empathizing with what the user would want, you would be able to further define what the problem is. So in defining, you're unpacking and synthesizing your empathy and findings into completing the needs and insight and scope of inner scientific, specific, and meaningful challenge. When you're going to be defining any particular problem, you have to understand, in taking into account all the different aspects of what the user wants and needs and desires are going to be, and then put them into an actionable approach. So you then come out, rather than finding a solution, you're defining what the problem statement would be. And this is a fundamental for creating a successful solution. Then the next stage is ideate. So in this, after you have created what your problem is, you're going to explore now in multi-directional approach, trying to find what the possible solution can be, trying to find using sketches, using different kinds of ways of communicating, using different how to say exploring the solutions even more, as to whether this particular solution would actually be defining would actually be helping in producing a certain prototype that you're going to be doing for. And obviously getting a really hands-on approach from all your team members collaborating together to try and find a more creative solution. Then comes prototyping. So once you've got all the ideas together, it's important to quickly create a little prototype to see, and then you test it out exactly whether your ideas that you have created resolves that problem, or is it in the right direction, or through prototyping you get to understand whether what you're doing, whether the problem that you have defined is the correct problem or not, or you see whether what if you missed out any particular aspects of when you were gaining certain inputs from the user. So through prototyping, you get to you use your empathy gaining, you explore the different types of solutions and all you may have come out, you test them, and then you gain your inspiration to redo the prototype. So testing is a constant. Testing, as everybody knows, is you get your feedback of what you have prototyped, of whether what you have defined was correct, whether the solutions you have prototyped is feasible or not, and also whether the point of view that you have created from your empathy, from understanding the user, is accurate or not. Then finally is once you have tested and tested and tested and tested, that is when you come from your mule build to your alpha to bravo, then you starting your production, then you learn to implement these, then you learn to implement your particular product. So in doing so, you learn the holistic aspect of what your entire project is. Then you solve any disagreements when you're going to be implementing your ideations. And also in doing so, you start a conversation whether the feedback that what you have created is usable, or there is a scope to also to improve further on. And when you're implementing, it's always important to fail quickly and cheaply, so that you don't have to, so that you can keep ideating on that and improving on the tool itself. So I want to bring back to the video you just saw, and let's see how we are going to be implementing these 6 pillars of design thinking into this. So when we were doing this particular project for Greaves Cotton, we were looking into what the market was of the three-wheeler industry, and trying then going into how the different market segment is. So this is the input from the sales, the marketing team. Then they're talking to users who are using these rickshaws as well, as to what they're looking for, and also to people who are going to be driving them. So the drivers as well, what they're looking for when they are also going to be using these electric three-wheelers. Also, it's important to know who the market contenders are, so so you can pick and choose what particular aspects are the defining features for these particular products who are in the biggest selling people in the market. So then let's just come to a little roadblock called critical reading checklist. So this is where you, after you have gained this insight from your sales, from your user, from all your other places, from interviewing to drivers and all, sit down and check whether what the framework you're using is correct or not. The insight you're getting, is it actually user centered? Is the needs actually going to be met? Is the insight actually driven? So you need to constantly check with your own feedback whether this is a plus, whether what you have got is a real feedback, or is it a junk value. So you keep on checking, and ultimately you have to also cross verify with your team. Are they excited, and is this process going to be doable? Because if any of these particular questions on your screen right now does not meet with your insight, then you have to redo the empathy process again and get more feedback, so that you can then crystallize what your problem you're going to be defining for. So finally, we were able to focus on these particular deliverables for what a rickshaw driver would, be it a fleet or be it an individual rickshaw driver, is going to be looking for. So they were looking for, uh, you know, lightweight, comfortable, good mileage, easy to finance, robust, and also certain creature comforts put in as well. So we have classified these things into the 3 different categories of want, desire, and need. Now starts the fun part. Where do we start? How do we start building our ideas? How do we create something new that is not defining in the market? So this is something that we call as a mood board. So we take certain aspects of what we want to put our design language into. What so we were looking to into something a little contemporary type with a modern twist and a little bit of an aggressive styling. So looking into certain lines, certain features, and all as highlighted in the blue marks on the screen, and going into like an old school rickshaw with a modern look. So then we start sketching it out, trying to throw out different ideas and lines and how is this packaging going to be, how are we going to be going about it. So through multiple iterations and ideations, we come to finally the interiors. We come to solidify what this is going to be. This is what our product is going to be. This is how we're going to be developing it after talking to all the different vendors and all. And so let's push this into, let's test it out. Let's start prototyping it and then later test it out. So then this is how the prototype stage of converting this particular sketch, a 2D sketch, into a three-dimensional model. Working on a surface model, trying to make sure that defining the particular boundaries of what the vehicle should be, the wheelbase, the height, the carriage inside, what kind of materials, how the windshield, all the different ergonomic points that's needed, and finally all the feature lines that we're going to be going into this. So prototype for empathy and testing. This is when you are prototyping for empathy is when you put yourself into the shoes of what the user is going to be. So when I would be prototyping uh, this particular model for this particular, especially the interior cabin, which is quite important, sitting making little boxes over here, trying to figure out what the dimensions are going to be, whether the height is correct, making sure that the visual lines are all feasible, whether the certain blind spots are acceptable or not, and then testing your prototype so that you can increasingly put uh, what you have prototyped it, put yourself into the user, get a feedback whether this is acceptable or not, whether this is good. So we had to run certain inside testing and inside feedback loops within our company, whether certain feature lines like this exterior and the interior is good or not. So then finally, we come to building the whole thing. So this is a mock. This is what we call a mule build, where we have defined all the particular parts, all the hard points, all the mechanical points that are going to be there, and we're going to be then developing the shell of it. So this is a particular pattern that we have done, and then from this we would be making it into a mold and building the parts and then assembling them all together, testing the packaging of the actual batteries and the motor and all the different hard points into that, whether this is actually feasible or not. And then the painting begins, and this is what we had implemented, finally building the whole vehicle from scratch. And within 40 days from the testing on the market to actually delivering it to Auto Expo in February of 2018. So this is how it looked over there, and everybody really appreciated. Couldn't, even though it looked small, it was surprisingly large inside. So let's refresh ourselves that this design thinking process is not a linear process at all. It is a multi-stage, multi-defining, multi-evolutioning step process where you are going to constantly go from empathize to define to empathize to ideate to prototype to ideate to then test to then if the test all fails, then you re-prototype again and then finally implement, and if certain failures come, then you redefine all those things. So this is a constant interacting motion where it is a non-linear approach and is very interactive, where you constantly are constantly testing out checking you and constantly failing with your results, going questioning all the processes that you have done, and constantly improving, evolving your assumptions, understanding the results. The investigations of ambiguous elements of the problem to reveal previously unknown parameters and uncover alternative strategies. So, design thinking is when you are incorporating all the desirability, viability, and feasibility all into one, into that one product. So, the course of design thinking, the main course that we focus on is on the ideation, inspiration, and implementation. So, this is a constant loop cycle, it's an infinity loop cycle where it seeks to generate holistic and empathetic understanding of the problems that people face, connecting the solid foundations of science and rationality to the ambiguous and inherent subjective emotion needs, motivations, and drives. So the creative elements of design thinking is found in these particular methods to generate problems and solutions and insight into the practice and actions and thoughts of the real users. So a lot of people think that, oh, I'm not creative because I don't know how to sketch, or I don't know how to do this or how to do that. But creativity is not something that is you're born with. Creativity is the balance of work and play. We've all been creative all through our lives. Even when we were little kids, we would be playing with our friends and all, creating imaginary worlds, and going on different adventures. So that is what where your creativity is. It is important to get yourself into the play mode. It is the balance of work and play. So how to put yourself into the mindset mode or the play mode is, don't be judgmental about what you're doing. Question everything that is around you. Be truly curious about what is happening around you, about small little things, little steps here, little things there, finding certain patterns within that particular activity, and listen to what is happening around you. So the way to put yourself into the play mode, into the open mindset, is to put yourself as a child and play around with the problem. Try to find all kinds of outrageous ideas, which comes to which we know as brainstorm. So when we are brainstorming, we are putting ourselves into this open and child mindset, where we are trying to have conversation with everyone, coming up with wild ideas, and being visual about what kind of ideas we're going to be going for, and building ideas on top of others. It's important to not be judgmental and not block other people, but instead build your ideas on others and go for quality, not just quantity. So the process of ideation is when you're playing, you create multiple different choices, n number of choices and all, to a certain point. But then you can't keep playing all the time. Otherwise, you'll never get any work done. So after, say, maybe 2, 3, or 5 hours of playing around, and you can do this within your every day of the week, where you can allocate like 2 hours of your day to playing, come out with crazy ideas, wild ideas, and then after playing, then the work begins, because we ultimately have a deadline to complete these projects. So we have to convert those particular ideas and see what is feasible, what is doable, what can we test out, what can we try out, what can we do. And the final stage is then evaluating these ideas, whether the results you're coming out, and all the ideations that you're coming out, are they for the existing users, or are they for the new users, or are they giving something that is currently available in the market, or you're coming into something completely new or completely revolutionary. So this flowchart shows you can adapt yourself into where you want your project to be, where you want to be in either of these four quadrants, whether you wanted to be absolutely revolutionary, or an evolution of an existing idea, or adapting an evolution of the existing idea, or you're just creating an incremental step into what you're creating. So I want to bring this particular project up because this was my design. This is my thesis project for my masters, where I was with this company, Mobile Hospital Designers and Developers, to create an ALS ambulance and trying to create an ALS ambulance where you can have treatment protocols and transportation within the ambulance itself. So upon now again trying to put my understanding what the market is, trying to understand what is available in the market, what and getting feedback from the people who are actually operating. It was a real shock to see that how the so-called advanced life support ambulances in some of the big hospitals have been so shabbily done that I could not believe that these ambulances were actually plying in the market. So in doing so, I had to also train with medical experts into advanced life support treatments, understanding how does it go about it. So putting myself in the shoes of the actual people who are working in the ambulance, how they're going to be operating within that tiny space, understanding the treatment protocols of advanced life support, trying to understand all the different equipments they're going to be needing and how to operate that in that particular space. So in the current ambulances have were never made by OEMs, were party fabricators, poor, very cramped space, and the surfaces were absolutely horrible and poor storage. And as we can see in the pictures in the corners over here, it just did not make any sense as to how people could operate in these sort of conditions. So my design brief was simple: to create a high-end critical care ambulance that caters to for the ALS treatment and transport, an ergonomically designed patient workspace. So the goal over here was not creating just a luxury ambulance, but focusing on the workspace of the people operating over here and provide a comfortable and efficient care to transport for the transport of the patients. So if the workspace of the ambulance is well done, so then they can be more efficient in treating the patients. So I decided to go for an ergonomic focus, futuristic look, organic flow, and looking into spacious feel, where I was looking into like luxury hotels. These kind of as you can see, what you in futuristic look, that is a CT scan area where they've used ambient lighting to try and create a certain mood into it, and going to go for an organic feel. So sketching, trying to get those particular elements, and these are all hand sketches, trying to ideate and try to figure out how those particular workspaces, then trying to prototype those particular places whether this is okay or not, and then finally creating a particular concept over here where I felt that this would be the most ideal design for creating an efficiently designed and organically looking, aesthetically pleasing workspace. So where I am focusing on the entire ergonomics of how the patient is, and designing it for 90, both for 95% male and in 50% female. So taking into account the different sizes of the different people who are going to be operating in it. So this was a particular layout that I was proposing for this particular design. And this was a small scale model that I made for my project over here. So in conclusion, this project was actually quite appreciated, and I managed to start making this particular ambulance for a particular customer. But then something happened. You're going to face this a lot in your projects, that you once you're starting, you get your inside, you're doing all these things, you're getting it, you're pushing your project through, you're finding your confidence and all, and then there is a dip in your morale where you feel that your project is not a go ahead because there are so many limitations to it. And then there are so many other aspects that you could not even plan for when you're going about in your project, and that really puts your confidence, and that really puts your confidence down, and really wonder and question whether what you were doing was correct or not. But then after a certain time, you start building yourself, redefining the entire project, and then prototyping it, and then trying new iterations and building your confidence up through trial and error. So don't panic if you reach a certain stage and you're not able to, and you're in a slump, because eventually those particular projects will find a way. And this is a project that I started in 2016, and after going through working in multiple different companies and all in the current organization in 2021, I was fine after through several ideations with this. I was finally able to present this. So this is this is a page I wanted to showcase to everybody, that this is from the School of Design of Stanford, where when you want to do something creative, this is what a particular mindset that you need to have. Show, but don't tell. Your visual, it's a lot easier to showcase what you're doing rather than telling them a story. Focus on human values, craft clarity, embrace experimentation, and be mindful about the process. Be biased towards your actions and radically collaborate with all the people around you. So, this particular ambulance that we've designed by the company, I would not have been done. It would not been possible with the team that I was leading over here, and through the collaborative effort of everybody over there, focusing on the human aspect, constantly experimentation, understanding where the process we are in, and also getting clarity of what we need to do. So don't worry about saying that, thinking that you won't be able to do it or it's too hard and all. Always, with these kind of incremental steps, you will be able to achieve anything. Thank you. Now, I would like to Uh, Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, does anybody have any particular questions about this? So, I want to open it up to anybody who has any questions related to the process and how we go about this entire presentation, and as well, excuse me, and also, uh, I think a lot of people would be thinking that, like, I wanted to focus on two things over here, on the idea of what creativity is, and also going about, you know, a project. So, as I shown before, you know, even with the electric three-wheeler project, even though it was loved by everybody. It was really appreciated. For unknown reasons, that project, died its slow death, and it did not get picked up anywhere because the partner who we did it for decided to not invest into electric, or decided to go into different channels. And similarly, like for even my ambulance project, initially I was designing that ambulance, keeping in mind for exporting it out, so designing it for European norms. But then there are people over here who did not want to spend that kind of money in having this ambulance, and also trying to get uh, a vertical cylinder, and that entire and having the entire oxygen cylinder and wash basin and all, integrating it into a single unit was actually proving to be quite difficult. Then a lot of then the real one of the real world problems that comes out is homologating those particular projects to make sure that it's certifiable on the road, and it's also be viable for its structural integrity, and making sure that it stays within the guidelines of automotive needs. So a lot of these particular projects goes through these kind of evolutionary steps, where uh, where it doesn't start off the way you want, but if you put your time long enough, if you believe yourself in the project, and you keep pushing, keep ideating, keep testing, keep going about that. If you saw in that process, you constantly got to be going from empathy to ideate to defining what the problem is, to prototyping, to I believe somebody had written a question.
Yes, so we have a
Uh,
question from
yeah,
Yash.
yeah, yeah. You can. What is it? You can
So
talk it up.
the question says that students often struggle to find their career path. How did you know this is what you wanted to do?
So, give a brief history about me, I actually joined the army after my engineering. So, but then due to an injury I suffered during training, I was left without options. I had to leave. I was medically boarded out of the army, and I was really struggling to try and figure out what do I do. So, and trying to and I did and because I got selected for the army, I didn't even sit for any placements. So I was injured, out of a job, out of a career, and trying to figure out, you know, what am I going to do now? Really, what am I going to like? Panic. So I tried different fields. I've tried put myself into sales, marketing. I've tried myself in computer science. I've tried myself in all kind of different industries. But the uh, the only way you can figure out what your career path is know, if you're going to be working, if you like to be paid for something, if you're going to be spending your 2/3 of your day doing a particular task, you would want to enjoy that. you would want to try. So, try and tinker and play, put yourself into different industries, try different sort of companies, try different times of work. I tried teaching at one particular point. Also, I tried also being getting into your adventure travels as well, because, and then alongside with that, I was also training people for the army as well, because learning all that, you have to, what do you do with all that knowledge that you've learned? So then you have to put the way of how I got myself into designing uh, was when I was in Tata Motors. I got to interact with some designers over there, and I was, and I found like there was like the disconnect between, what the designer, what the when I'm talking about designers, I'm talking about the creative designers, I'm not talking about the engineers. So what the designers are doing and how the engineering is done. So I was in quality control for new projects in Tata Motors, and I was lucky to get into that job. And I found like, this particular, there was a certain aspect of this line, quality control, I was good at. I was good in the engineering part, but I was more keen into understanding, what design was, the creative aspect, getting back into the creativity. And I was always this sort who used to be sketching in my notebooks and sketch. And I during my college classes, I would be sketching on my jeans, like making doodles and all on my jeans. I still have that jeans around with me, where during my engineering days, where I would be sketching all on top of that, and people would be wondering what the hell is wrong with this person. So trying, so then I knew that this is something that I want to do, so I tried it. So then finding out, talking to people from the industry, how different career paths they went into, and then putting yourself, getting yourself into that, and finding. So the only way, if you are feeling that, where you're stuck, how do you get into a particular creative, how do you get into these kind of lines? The only way is to, try, speak to people in the industry. LinkedIn is a perfect place, to talk to people, where you can, suggest what kind of work you want to do. And so a lot of questions I'm seeing is about self-doubt and feeling, how to deal with the feelings, and to deal with, your creative block. So for creative block, that is the reason why I said that creativity is not something that is inherent. It is something that can be l- done by anybody. It comes with practice. So whenever you're having a particular creative block, you're stuck in a particular, you're trying a particular process, you're stuck over here, you're stuck over here. That is because you're trying something and is not proceeding. So if it's not moving forward, leave it. Go back, go back to your research and all that you did, or go back, what is the problem statement that you made before you started to think about a creative solution. Because a lot of times when you are stuck in a creative solution, it might be because you may not have questioned or found the right questions to the answers you're looking for. You are so question, why are you stuck over here? Why it doesn't need to be like this? Why can't I try? Then try to be a little mad, like a child will never say no to, no, this can't be done, no, you can't do that. A child, having a child mentality is when you are open to play around with any kind of idea. I mean, okay, fine. Like flying cars. Okay, why not have like a car where the wheels turn down, and in that wheel propels up the whole thing, the propellers in the wheels and all. Why not? Or maybe like a car that, that can go in any different directions. Why? Why does the tire have to be like that kind of a shape? Why can't it be a ball? Why does it have to be a solid piece? Why can't it be like maybe hollow inside? Why can't it be? So that is, so you then, so if you're stuck in a problem where, you're not able to move forward, question what you are doing. Question what the problem that you have created, that you have started your creation for. Try to find, just it is a constant process. So a lot of times when you are stuck in a creative, like a creative slump, as to how am I going to go about this. Just don't think about it, let it be, stop over there, clear your mind, do some other different activity, go watch a movie, go play some games, go play some sports, go for a movie, have time some fun with your friends. Get yourself not thinking about it. Don't think about the problem. Do not even think about that. Try not to even think about it. If you're thinking about it, then you are not having fun with your friends. You're not paying attention with your friends or family or doing the activity that you want to do. Then once you have cleared your mind completely, then try that problem again. Go with the open mind approach, wondering whether trying any kind of wild ideas can lead to very inspiration thoughts. Like take for example that wild idea of having of my ambulance having like a fountain sort of a design, like a tree kind of design in the inside, so that it can have the water flow and the sink and the garbage dispense and all those other things. That's a wild idea. Creating it was quite a problem because there were certain aspects that had to be resolved. And then also, so don't give up on your projects. Just if it doesn't work, accept it. You have to be open to failure. It is very important to be accepting of failure, because you without failure you cannot succeed. This is a time, and this is a very oxymoronic expression, failing upwards. How does someone fail upwards? Well, take for example, everybody knows about Edison's bulb. You think Edison knew how to make the bulb the first way? No. He tried hundreds of different ways and failed different times and this and that. And through every failure, you learn certain things about it. Okay, fine. This is the reason why it failed. Let's try a different approach. Keep trying, keep trying, keep trying, to finally all you can fail 1,000 times, millions of times, but all you need is to be successful in one. So that is the reason why you need to be accepting of your failures, accepting. So so do not feel bad. If your friends have been placed in some great companies, you're stuck in college trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do now? Understand that maybe that's not your career path. Maybe that's not where you need to go. Maybe everybody is telling you to do this particular thing, but you want to do something else. You want to try some different thing. Yeah, I know it sounds stupid to do this, because people will be wondering why parents are also telling you, why you're wasting your time on this. Why, like honestly speaking, you know, at the number of times I've had my parents also tell me, why are you wasting your time on this? This is not a viable solution. But if you believe in yourself, if you believe that, no, you know, if I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail with glory. All right. I'm going to fail in such a way that, I'm going to make sure that I leave no stone unturned. Like when I tried for doing my master's in design, I was working at Tata Motors at that time, and I gave the seed exam. So there's a common entrance exam for designing for doing masters, which is held by IIT Delhi. And I gave the exam. I studied it. I did all that. I gave the NID exam as well. I didn't get through NID. I was not bothered about that. I was more interested on this, more focused on this. So, but I missed the cutoff. I just missed the cutoff. Like the cutoff was 75, I got 73. And I was completely in shambles. So then my parents were telling me, why don't you, do your MBA as usual? Okay, fine. So, you know, I know sitting, working and studying was not going to work for me. I needed to exit out of Tata Motors, and then spent 6 months with my parents, studying for my MBA. And I was planning for, I was not planning for IIMs and all. I know I'm not that smart. So I was aiming for Army Institute of Management, because I've got plenty of friends who passed out of there. And I'm sure that, if I contact one of them, they'll get me placed, and, that is how it will go. But then the seed exam came out again. for giving the test. And I thought, you know, I'll just give it one last time. I'll just okay. If I don't get it, I'm going to go towards MBA. I'm going to do that. That's fine. But if I go through it, I'm going to give up MBA. That was the whole thing. And by then I had already given the CAT exams. I had already cleared for symbiosis. I had cleared for Army Institute of Management. I was literally filling up the forms and all, then submitting, and I was about to pay the fees. And then the results of seed results came out, and I cleared it. I just cleared it, and I was stunned. I was absolutely stunned. I was like, okay. So then I decided that that was a Hail Mary attempt I did. I said if I was going to do it, if I get it, I'm going to do it, come hell or high water. And it was like, are you mad? Why you've already gone and done your MBA and all? You're already going to go through. Why not do this? But no, this is something I want to do. And it was a real, and doing design was a real struggle, because spending hours and hours and hours trying to figure out, try to unlearn the engineering aspect and trying to get into the creative mode. So this is so it is it. So one thing I can only say is that, for through any creative block, for any career path and all, it is important to accept your failures. When you're designing, you learn to accept your failures very quickly, because you get to understand, okay, there are other people who are far better in sketching and all than me, and that is the level I need to put myself into. And how many times I've had to throw away projects and all, because they were completely useless, or unliked or anything. But then, that is the thing, you need to, don't worry about, you know about not succeeding. Worry about not failing, because if you don't fail, you'll never be able to learn from your mistake. You'll never be able to get that insight as to what you need to do next. And you'll never become a better designer or better engineer or a better mathematician or better scientist. And this is true for all fields. You think Newton came up with gravity just like that? No. He thought about it so long, so long, so long, till finally an apple fell on his head, and then he got a eureka moment. So don't worry about, you know uh, about your, whether you're having your self doubt is okay. It's important. It's a human tendency. But what is really important is to push through it. It's important to know, all right, this is what I need to work on, this is how I need to move forward. So you can in fact use this design thinking even for your personal health, like trying to figure out trying to find what the problem is, trying to find path into it. And prototyping and testing it out is much easier, and implementing it is more difficult, but it's easy to test out and figure out what you need to do in your life. I hope I was able to answer everybody, because because this, having self doubt and talking about problems, and um, this is this is this will take, because I've also done certification in cognitive behavior therapy. So I've helped my friends and all to deal with these kind of problems in their lives, and that takes a lot of sessions. So that is something that is more appealable to be done one on one, rather than you know pushed into the end of a session like this.
Sure, sir. You've answered all the questions quite nicely. Now, I would like to invite the Joint Secretary of EIC, Rishi Arora, for the final word of thanks.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an insightful session. I'm sure that every attendee has got something to learn about the design thinking. And more importantly, that design thinking today is getting a very edge in the market. And So it's honor for us to have you here, and I would like to extend a gratitude from my side on the behalf of EIC and Punjab Engineering College. And we will proceed with other formalities and hope to connect with you in some offline event also. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
I just want to say that design thinking is not an old process. This is actually that was done by the Bauhaus School of Design in Germany, and this was done in the 1920s after World War One. So this is so it takes. It's important to remember that design thinking is just a new it's just a new process of a scientific approach to how experimentation is done. So
Yeah,
including, so that is the reason why, why I created that animation of the stem subjects. And when you add art into the STEM subjects, that forms the acronym STEAM, which is the heart and soul and created the entire design revolution. And without STEAM, we would not be having computers and talking to each other like this.
yeah. Great to hear that, sir. But somehow today the people are, I believe that this is being taken as a profession also. Earlier it was not on the roles of like people were able to engage themselves into such process. It was a process
Yeah.
like feedback and everything was existing, but somehow today we want to take up this as a career also. So that is another
Okay.
thing that we are. Yeah. Great to connect with you, sir. Sometime meet you offline
All
also.
right. All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Thank
All
you,
right.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right. Bye bye.
Thanks for watching.